This is the Earnestly podcast here on July 3rd, 2019. Here live, live for me anyway, not live for you guys to hear this podcast. By the way, happy birthday to my brother, Maurice, who turns 35 today. It's old! Well, that also means that if he's old, I'm getting old too, because, obviously. So anyway, right now we are still on Kawhi Leonard Watch 2019. As I started coming to this room to do this podcast, which again I could have done earlier, but my son decided to take an hour to fall asleep, and I can't get in here until my kid is asleep, or both my kids are asleep, for that matter, because if I decide to do a podcast while they're awake, they're gonna come and interrupt me. We're not gonna have that. We're not gonna have that at all. But if I want to sleep, so I was on Twitter while I was putting them to sleep, and the word is now, look, people have, there's just so many different angles and so many different rumors. It was all Lakers for the last couple days. Then Jalen Rose said about 5 hours ago, I guess, that he is 99% sure that Kawhi is returning to Toronto. Obviously, what contracts have been discussed, we don't know yet. And now we're hearing, according to, I think it was Jabari Young, who was a Spurs beat writer, that there will be no decision made tonight. In fact, there may not even be a decision made until for at least a few more days. So Kawhi Watch 2019 will now extend beyond possibly July 4th. This is what the NBA is great now, is that you have all these elite players every couple of years. There was LeBron, Kevin Durant, now Kawhi Leonard, that, are impactful players that hold the league, the weight of the NBA, the power of the NBA, the balance and act of the NBA in the palm of their hands. It's really good stuff. It's great theater. Now, there's some media folks I can't stand that's on Twitter, pissed off because their 4th of July is going to be ruined and all this stuff about, ESPN crews or, other, media crews that have to take a day off because of the Kawhi Watch. Well, this is my opinion. You don't need to do anything. And is there actually a reward in being first to break the news? Seriously. There are really three options here. Stay at Toronto, go to the Lakers, or go to the Clippers. And is there really a value in being first in that? And I'll admit, doing this the last 8 years, when I was doing, media full time in a way, well, not full time, but when I was doing media in a way where I was writing for sites, or even now when I do my independent stuff, a couple of years ago I would have said, yeah, I want to be a part of the action, I want to be first, and dude, I've now taken a step back from that life a little bit now, and I'm like, nah, there's no value in that. You're first, so what? And within the first 5 minutes of you breaking the news, you're gonna be swallowed up anyway. Who cares? Chris Sheridan was the one that found out about LeBron going back to Cleveland in 2014, and he was consistent with that, and it happened. Has Chris Sheridan's career gotten better since then? Probably not. No offense to Chris Sheridan himself, who was a respected NBA writer. He's not. I don't believe he's active in that anymore. My point is that there's no value in always being first, and I swear, media in general, people in media in general, whether it's sports media, whether it's politics or anything in general, pop culture, it doesn't matter. They take themselves way too fucking seriously. They really do, and they gotta stop. Seriously, the world ain't about you. Just do your job, report the news. I don't mind opinions. I mean, there's a difference between being a journalist and then being an opinionator. Big difference. But in any case, some of you folks need to just chill. They need to just fucking chill. So right now, as it stands, if we are to believe Jabari Young's report, Kawhi Leonard will not make a decision for at least a few more days. So this may go beyond the 4th of July, which, whatever. It's his right. He has every right to feel the way he feels. He has every right to take his time until, he's ready to make a decision. This is his life. This alters his life. This affects his family. This is not just like something, oh, well, decide now, buddy, we're waiting. No, you do what you want, But it is funny because Kawhi Leonard's personality does not fit this. Like you knew LeBron James loved the wait, the pomp and circumstance of waiting to decide on where we wanted to go, where it was Miami or Cleveland. I wouldn't say LA because LA he decided that pretty much in the first couple hours of free agency last year. But you enjoyed the attention, of course, because it's LeBron James. It's okay, nothing wrong with that. Kevin Durant, same thing too. Kawhi Leonard's a little different. Kawhi is a different cat, and that's good. It's good to see a guy like him, and by the way, he deserves it. He's a phenomenal player. He's arguably the best player in basketball right now. And the fact that the weight of the league rests on his shoulders right now in terms of where he goes, because obviously wherever he goes, their team will probably want to be the favorite, or not one of the favorites in the league. Let's put it this way quick before we make the decision. If Kawhi Leonard goes to Toronto, even with the moves made in free agency, I would still put Toronto number 1 or at worst number 2 in the Eastern Conference. Okay, maybe 3 depending on Milwaukee, but I think I put him number 1, number 2 in the Eastern Conference one of the year. Okay, I think Kawhi Leonard will sign it. I think for me personally, it's more likely that he'll sign a short-term deal with Toronto, and then just to run this back another year, see if they repeat, and then because after next year, a bunch of those players, Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka's of the world, all those players will be free agents, expiring contracts, so then he can leave. So I'm predicting he'll sign a 1-1 Toronto. Now, Toronto obviously has another chance to repeat next year. Why not try it? If he goes to the Clippers, it's close to home, less drama with the Lakers, a chance to take a moribund franchise who has never been in the conference championship, never been in the conference finals in their entire existence. Imagine Kawhi Leonard going to Toronto for 1 year, winning a title in his only year there, then going to the Clippers and finding a way at some point to take this team down to the finals, win a championship. Can you imagine the legacy of that? He'll leave, but again, this is where a Kawhi thing is so different from everybody else. We don't know what drives Kawhi. Does Kawhi even care about legacy? That's the thing. Again, there's so much about this that's why I find it funny that people are putting all these definitive narratives. Do you know Kawhi Leonard personally? Do you know what Kawhi Leonard is actually made up? Because he's not your typical superstar player. He's not, the way he talks, the way he communicates, the way he just is not typical of an NBA superstar. Certainly not the ones we've seen in the last 10, 15 years. So if he goes to the Clippers, that could be a legacy pull. Of course, the Lakers, you go there, you play with LeBron, you play with Anthony Davis. I've been saying that even with LeBron and Davis there, Kawhi Leonard is at a point right now in his career, he does not have to take a backseat for nobody. Not even LeBron James. Kawhi Leonard right now is arguably better than LeBron James right now. More impactful than LeBron James. Because of age. Age matters here too. So, I don't know. But a lot of people think that if Kawhi goes to LA, he might be the third, the Lakers, for example, he might be the third option there, or the third wheel. And no, today I say that's horseshit. Kawhi should be your guy. Kawhi is the best two-way player in the league. So, anyway, but we'll see what happens there with Kawhi. I mean, it's going to be a fascinating few days, or if it is a few days, if the reports are true. But folks are crazy on Twitter, man. Folks are going crazy. Now the rest of NBA free agency, and I did a little bit of on the Unfiltered pod. I did a little bit of a quick one of those. You can subscribe to the Earnestly Unfiltered podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, all those same platforms. Of course, I announced at the top of the show. I do shorter pods there, in the moment, rapid reaction. I didn't get a chance to go deep into it, and I said I'll wait till the end of the week to do this. Obviously tomorrow is July 4th, or when you get this podcast, it'll be July 4th. So I'm not sure I'll be able to do a podcast July 4th or even July 5th. So I decided to just jump in here. Regardless of Kawhi, if Kawhi doesn't make a decision, then obviously we'll just go from there. If Kawhi makes a decision tomorrow or Friday, I'll probably do either a quick pod here or a quick pod on the Unfiltered. But rather than just going through each and every single move, I'll just give you some of my winners and losers of free agency. It's a lot of winners here in free agency in the offseason so far. Obviously, I'm a Heat fan, so I'm going to say the Heat. What the Miami Heat did, number one, by first of all, they shouldn't have even been involved in any of these moves to get a top tier player. Remember, the Miami Heat right now, I believe, were $30 million over the cap entering free agency. Okay, so the very fact they were able to even get Jimmy Butler, number one, certainly a top 15 player in the league, and and who played phenomenal, who was arguably Philly's best player in the playoffs last year, and where the team that was closest taking down Toronto in the playoffs. The fact that Jimmy Butler was able to come to Miami, with the Heat being where they are with their cap situation, and not only that, then you also trade away Hassan Whiteside, who has been, let's face it, I don't maybe mean the guy. He was a solid player, but for the money he paid, he was being paid like an elite player. He was a bit of a nuisance at times. He wasn't consistent. A lot of complaining. He underwhelmed in comparison to his contract, should I say. So the fact that you're able to sign Jimmy Butler, okay, and then remember that there was an issue for a while, for a good 12 hours, where to move salaries to the Heat, they had to get rid of Goran Dragic, which to the Mavericks, which didn't happen because there's a quote-unquote miscommunication about who the Mavericks are getting in an effort to shed money for the Heat to sign Jimmy Butler. Obviously we don't get to it now because it doesn't matter, because the Heat were able to move Hassan Whiteside instead to Portland, which, by the way, I think it's a good move for Portland in the short term. And then furthermore, able to keep a lot of their assets. You still got Dragic, still got Derrick Jones Jr., still got a couple of players, Winslow, and obviously they lose Josh Richardson. You have to lose a young player, a young talented player to gain an all-star. But that's all. They didn't lose anything else. So the Heat are in a good shot now, and now the rumors are they're going to try to go to Bradley Beal, Kevin Love, and they got assets to do that, to make something happen. We'll see what happens in the coming days. The Nets obviously winning. They get Kyrie Irving, which again, Kyrie Irving is a bit, it's a strange bird, but again, still when healthy, one of the 10, 12 best players in the league. And Kevin Durant, of course. Kevin Durant commits to Brooklyn. Now, obviously, it's in the short term ain't so great because Kevin Durant is probably going to miss the rest of the next season as well too. So the Nets won't be able to see how that combo works for at least till 2021 or late 2020, should I say. A team under the radar, I know what I'm talking about, and to me, right now in this moment, until we find out what Kawhi's going, who may have the best starting five in the league itself, and definitely the Western Conference, in my opinion, the Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz, to me, have had a phenomenal offseason so far. I think they have the best, starting five in the Western Conference right now. The Portland Trailblazers, I think won also too, getting Whiteside because by losing Nurkic late last year, you get a guy to replace Nurkic. Whiteside is only on the hook for 1 year, and if Nurkic comes back and you don't want a Whiteside, he's a nice trade chip to another team with expiring contracts. So I think Portland actually, and this also depends on what Kawhi does. Kawhi holding the balance. Because if Kawhi stays in Toronto, Portland to me is a team right in the mix to win the West, even with LeBron and Anthony Davis together. Okay? The Pacers had a phenomenal, I thought a really good, I say phenomenal, but really good, off-season so far. Now, yes, they lose, Bogdanovich, of course, who was great for them last year, especially when they lost, Oladipo to injury, but they get Malcolm Brogdon and whatnot, and I think Indiana, again, depending on where Kawhi goes, they're going to be in the mix in that 1 through 5, 1 through 4, like they were last year, and they get Oladipo back healthy. Anything is possible for the Indiana Pacers. Here's some losers here. Losers here, of course, the Boston Celtics. Yes, they get Kemba Walker, but you lose Kyrie. Kemba maybe is a little not as good. Kemba is maybe a 1 tier below Kyrie, which is fine, but to me, the Boston Celtics lost more because the fact that they don't even have a front line anymore. Their front court is terrible. They lost Al Horford. Aaron Beans obviously last year lost him, in the trade. So Boston's thin right now in the front court. Kemba's a good player. Not knocking Kemba, but everything else when you weight everything that Boston's done, and it's funny, Boston, piling up all these picks, Danny Ainge piling all these picks for what? For nothing. I think Boston's in the middle of the pack right now until they confirm their front line. The Knicks, obviously, that are, not even getting anything. First, not even getting Zion in the draft. Now, they got RJ Barrett's a good player, but we'll see how that goes. But not getting Zion, striking out on Durant, striking out on Kyrie. Obviously, no Kawhi. Again, the perception of New York, it gets more bolder now because, now it's the ownership who gets blamed. And rightfully so. James Dolan's a horrible owner. Yes, he spends money, but he meddles too. And again, it puts more of a cast now a spotlight on James Dolan and now what he needs to do going forward, whether to sell the team or I don't know. I mean, look, the Knicks still sell out their games. They still get as bad as they've been for 20 years, most of the last 20 years. They actually still do well ticket wise. They have loyal fans. So where's the motivation for James Dolan to actually sell a team? Where's the protest? Like Laker fans protested last year when they didn't like how things went with the team. So again, it's one of those things where the Knicks, the Knicks ownership, they're not going to feel the pressure from fans because they're still making money. They're still the most valuable franchise right now in according to Forbes by virtue of of their equity. So where's the motivation? Golden State lost also too. I know they got D'Angelo Russell. I know they got Willie Cauley-Stein, which I do like the move. But you lose Durant. You lose Durant number one, and then also you don't have Klay Thompson next year. Now you lock him up for 5 years, but you don't have him for next year. And they lose Iguodala, which obviously is getting older. But their roster is getting beat up a little bit now. So even with it's possible, and again, it depends what Kawhi does. Golden State might be a fringe playoff team. We'll see how it goes. I mean, Steph Curry will have a lot of pressure. Now, the D'Angelo Russell move I kind of do like, sort of. I think he may be able to extend Steph Curry's career. I can see obviously him, Curry, and Klay being the a three guard rotation. We'll see where that goes. But again, you lose Kevin Durant. It is that's where it get hurt. So we'll see. Another winner, real quick. It's the Sixers won. I thought also. You lose Butler, but you get Josh Richardson, who I think will flourish in that role as a second tier player on that team. Obviously, my only concern for the Sixers is whether they have enough closers or guys that can play off the ball, or guys that can create off the dribbles. I say, like Butler did. Again, Butler was the best player last year, so we'll see where that goes. I don't think I have any more losers or winners, really, that stood out for me personally. I mean, the losers, the Hornets. Now, I say that because they lost a top 20 player. But it's hard to say that Tony lost here because paying Kemba Walker that money, 5-year Supermax, especially because he was eligible for it because he was a All-NBA player this year. He wasn't going to move the needle for you. Anyway, you saw this year. He was on the team. He played most of the year. They won, 38, 39 games this year? They weren't a playoff team. So, unless you're going to attach him to another All-Star, and by the way, by signing Kemba, you're capped out. The Hornets have to start over. So, and even without Kemba, they still have a lot of work to do with the roster. So they might be the worst team in basketball next year. It's very possible. I'm thinking of the teams I forgot. Winners and losers. The Rockets obviously, didn't do anything really. They had nothing. They had no space. But I think depending where Kawhi goes, if Kawhi stays in the East, the Rockets could be one of the favorites in the Western Conference. But beyond that, I think that's really that stood out. Anything else I think of, I'll bring up. Obviously, on the podcast and whatnot. So, anyway, right now I'm actually a little less than a month now into my NBA. No, it's not NBA. WWE. Wow, I'm fumbling the words on this podcast. I'm definitely looking forward to July 4th. Anyway, I'm actually a little less than a month into my WWE return. I remember a couple weeks on the podcast I said that I watched my first Raw in 17 years, since 2002, and I've been consistent, watching Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-views or whatever. So about a little under a month now since I've started that. And I gotta tell you, this week, honestly, and I know this because a lot of the WWE fans that actually watch the product and watch it longer than I have, in this present day, agree with me on this. This week was a huge week and a really good positive week for Raw and SmackDown. The WWE had a very good week, actually. Should I say some attitude? As you know, last week it was announced that Paul Heyman would be the Raw executive creative. Well, I don't know the title I use, but the executive for Raw, and then Eric Bischoff will be the executive for SmackDown. Now, it's my understanding that not Eric Bischoff. It's my understanding that Paul Heyman already started working with Raw at some capacity. He's already involved, and you can tell because the Raw this past Monday was very edgy, in comparison to what they've done in the past, in recent memory, anyway. Raw was right. I mean, first of all, you had the whole thing with Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman, going through the LED screen, both going to the hospital. Which was, to be honest, I wasn't even sure it was kayfabe or not. Now, I asked a good friend James Neese, who goes on this podcast, it was kayfabe. He said it was kayfabe. So we'll run with that. By the way, kayfabe is fake. It's basically a storyline. Okay. But the whole show in general was edgy. Like, I mean, it wasn't attitude edgy, but it was edgy enough to where you can say, "Oh, okay, like you see, you can see the influence of the writing changing a little bit now." And I think the WWE needed to go that route because one of the things, and look, they've gone public, obviously, stock market and all that. They got stockholders to appease to. The WWE today, obviously, as I know it, is catered back to where Hulkamania era was back in the 80s. Back to the kids. It's supposed to market towards the kids. Which, not a bad thing, of course, but at the same time, what that does, it restricts your writing. Like, to me anyway, the creativity gets restricted because if you want to get a little edgier at times, you can't because, again, you have a cap on how far you can go with language or with storylines and whatnot. And I'm not even suggesting they go over the top like with attitude. That's a different time, different place. But to me, they've gotten so more cartoonish now in comparison to the Hulkamania era. Anyway, and to where I believe it's really affected the creativity because it's only so much you can do. I mean, and look, I think the in-ring product is amazing. I think what they do in the ring is incredible work, honestly. So I'm not even knocking the roster at all. I love what they're doing. I love the roster, but again, with character development, there's a cap to it, So it was good to see that. But Raw, not only Raw was edgy. I finished SmackDown today, and even SmackDown had moments of edginess. Like there's a point where Kofi Kingston and Samoa Joe were in the ring. They did face to face, because they're meeting up for the title at Extreme Rules in a week and a half, and there's a part, and now the camera blocked it out, but Kofi Kingston gave Samoa Joe the finger. And then, whatever. Now you can't see it, but you can see it. Like, the camera was set in a way we couldn't see on TV, but the rest of the crowd could see it. But again, they weren't doing that before. So now you see they're doing it now. I'm like, you sort of wonder if if Bischoff, I'm not sure if Bischoff is involved yet. I've heard that Heyman is involved right now already with Raw. But has that overlap now to both shows now? But it was good to see some edginess, and it got me. It hooked me again. I wasn't, kind of like distracted. I was really into the episodes. Great week for the WWE, in my opinion. Now, could this carry over to the pay-per-view and next week and beyond? We'll see where it goes. And I think maybe the WWE is starting to feel pressure from the AEW, who just had their second pay-per-view, Fyter Fest, this past weekend. I didn't watch yet, but I need to watch it. So it's a lot going on, man. I mean, this is actually a good time to get back at WWE. This is why I got back into it. Couple things that stood out to me this week on WWE also. Big E from the New Day. He could be, I don't know if he was at any point in the company, but he would be a great singles wrestler. He's actually really good. He's a really good in-ring worker. I know he wrestled Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. I mean, he lost the match, but his work in the ring is amazing. I'm not suggesting that they break up the New Day, of course, but what I'm saying is what he does is really, really good in the ring. Also, I'm all for the Ricochet AJ Styles again. If it hasn't even been official yet, but I imagine they'll be meeting Extreme Rules. Now last week they met on SmackDown, which AJ Styles won that match last week. It was a non-title match. And then they met again this week on SmackDown, and Ricochet won this time. Now, when they met last week, there was a lot of respect there. AJ Styles shook his hand, and whatever, a lot of good sportsmanship, all that. This week's episode, AJ Styles, it started out again when Ricochet won as him, giving good match, all that sportsmanship, and then AJ Styles jumped Ricochet. So even though they haven't announced it yet officially, at least I don't know they haven't announced anything yet. I mean, I'm imagining that Ricochet and AJ Styles will meet at Extreme Rules in a week and a half. Which, by the way, I'm all for that. Like, I know that I'm not into really all the repeat matches every week, same matches over and over again. But these two guys are in the ring, are amazing. And I think AJ Styles going full heel now helps Ricochet also too with his push as he's getting a huge push now from the company, being U.S. champion, and his in-ring work is incredible. So that was good to see those two kind of separate in terms of the baby face and the heel. Look, I like Shane McMahon. I think he's a great heel. I think he does a lot, I think his presence is needed in the company. But I'm really getting tired of Shane McMahon only because of the heat. I said this on the podcast last week. I'll say it again. He's taking away the heat from Drew McIntyre. And again, seeing Shane do the same thing every week, the greatest in the world, all that's kind of cool to some degree, but it's every week I'm hearing it. It's too much. Like, too much Shane on TV is not good for the company. That's when you know the company is desperate. When Shane is on TV way too much. Let the talent, let the in-ring talent speak for itself. Let the other talents, on the mic. I know Shane's great what he does, but too much of Shane it's too much. It gets obvious. Also, I love Daniel Bryan as a heel. I think he's great. I remember, even though in the 17 years I didn't watch, I do remember when he won the title at WrestleMania a couple years ago. Obviously, he had a neck injury that nearly sidelined for his career, but he came back. But Daniel Bryan as a heel is really good. I like I love him as a heel personally. So yeah, I think what they're doing there. Look, WWE's roster is phenomenal. They got they have arguably the best roster they've ever had at any point, even back in the Attitude and in the Hulk Hogan era. It's just that beyond the actual roster and in-ring work, working with the characters is the issue, and trying to expand those characters. That's going to be their challenge moving forward. But if Heyman is already meddling in terms of more loose, writing and whatnot, that will be good for the company. And I don't think, honestly, stockholders will give a shit, because if it means that they'll draw more eyeballs to the product, that's all that matters anyway, right? So that's my opinion. So we'll see what happens next week on when I see Raw and SmackDown leading up to the pay-per-view in 10 days now. I think 9, 10, 11 days, whatever the hell it is. So we'll see. What else I want to talk about before I go? Oh yeah, so the Overcast app. The Overcast app is incredible. Now, Overcast is a podcast app that you can download, podcasts, subscribe podcasts, all that. It's kind of like it's like having Spotify and and iHeart and podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all that. Overcast is a app created by Marco Arment, who's a genius of a app creator. I have been using the Overcast app for 2 years now, thanks to Matt McQueenie. And the reason I love the app is there's no different. There's differences between Overcast and other podcast apps. The podcast app has a thing called Smart. Let me see real quick. What's the name of it? So I can get it right here. I mean, obviously, I've been using it 2 years, and it's incredible. They have this thing called Smart Speed, which any dead air, it kind of skips that. In other words, it basically makes your listening experience a lot faster, a lot more efficient. But also, you're able to share. One of the things I like about this app, as opposed to other apps, you're able to share your episodes on the podcast. And if you go on my Twitter page, for example, from today, I've been sharing clips of episodes, like time, timeline, like where I'm at on an episode. If I want to share a specific piece of part of where I want to promote on Twitter, for example, it can do that from the time. You can share it, and when you click on that link, it actually goes to the actual part of what I'm trying to show you, not that's the beginning of the episode. So it has the, at its, you can share the podcast at the current time of the podcast based on where you want to share. But also, you can actually take also a 1 minute clip and make a clip and then put it out there also too, an audio clip, like an MP3. Overcast is very efficient. I love what they're doing. I support this company. I'm probably going to donate some money to the company also too, because I think they're really, really doing some good stuff. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. Obviously, there are other things they can do going forward, but I tell folks when people ask about, what are good podcast catchers to have, Overcast, in my opinion, is to me is the best one, honestly. Nothing against Spotify, nothing against Apple Podcasts, all that. I mean, by the way, I'm not saying no other companies, but what the Overcast app can do, as not only as a podcast listener, but a podcaster in general that creates content like me, it's phenomenal, and I truly love the work they're doing. So, shout out to Mark Arment, and by the way, his podcast, I listen to his podcast with his wife. It's a monthly podcast they do called Top 4. They rank things that they care about. which I love very much. It's a good listen, by the way. So, all right, before I go, July 4th rather, is not only the Independence Day for us Americans, it is also this year will be my 13-year anniversary. Not wedding, though. It's 13th anniversary of when my wife, Lauren, and I started dating. We started dating in 2006, so 2006, July 4th. And like I said, it's been a phenomenal, obviously it's been a relationship has had its challenges, but also it's had some great points too. And, it's funny, people say, well, once you get married, don't you only celebrate your wedding anniversary? And yeah, we do, but we also celebrate this, because it was, I remember, I go back to when we started dating, that day. I remember asking her, and it was in my car, that was in my car, I asked her to be my girlfriend. We actually went earlier that day, on the beach in Deerfield to, see fireworks. We didn't stay that long. Actually, we did stay. Well, we went with other friends, but they left because they weren't feeling well. We didn't stay too long though. We went back to my car. We were parked at a Home Depot. Weird, I know. I asked her to be my girlfriend. And it's been a up and down, but mostly good. 13 years together, and yeah, we celebrate our dating anniversary. It's what it is. She appreciates it. Well, see, my wife is very sentimental. She doesn't care about things. She's not into diamond rings and necklaces and all that stuff. She's more sentimental. She appreciates dates. She appreciates, notes, or saying things, things things that she can remember. She values memories. Which is great, because I'm kind of the same way now too myself. Like, I thought for a long time that all women wanted diamonds. That's not the case. Not all women do want that, but it actually for a long time made it hard for me to shop for her, because I thought, if I just got a diamond ring or diamond necklace, everything would be good. But she's not into that. She's into cards and written notes and memories, going out to Disney and going out to a place, a date somewhere, a dinner, And I think I've learned now as I got older to appreciate that, especially now where I'm at now in my life, about being a minimalist now, trying to do less and be less about stuff. It kind of fits. So, but yeah, 13 years now of being together. 8 years married. I did a whole episode back on April. It's called 8 years actually. It's actually still on the feed. That was our wedding anniversary, but we're celebrating now 13 years of being together. 2006. Wow. So weird. Cause I have a couple of friends who are single. I go back and I talk to them, like, I ask them once in a while, how is it being single in 2019? Like, I can't imagine being a single guy in 2019. Like, if God forbid Laura and I got divorced, cause I'm not that guy that goes out all night. I'm very conservative because of the lifestyle. I value my personal space. I can't imagine being single in 2019. The world today is different than it was in 2006. And that's saying a lot. It's only 13 years. That's the weird thing. So, I think I will call it. If we get any updates on Kawhi Leonard, I'll more likely do an emergency podcast either on this feed or the unfiltered feed. Of course, you can follow that on, like I said, on any podcast catcher on Earnestly Unfiltered. We're also dropping, hopefully, if not on July 4th, before the week's out, the first episode of my wife and I's podcast, That's So Christian. We already recorded our first episode. We just got to finalize some artwork and do some last minute editing, and then this will be up by the end of the weekend. And episode 2 also of the Wrestling Retrospective podcast I do with my friends Mike the Squid, Bernier, and Joe Lopez. That'll be King of the Ring 93 will be out on Friday. So got a lot going on here, man. So like I said, well, if anything drops with the Kawhi news, I'll jump back on here and do a quick reaction pod to it all. But until then, enjoy your 4th of July. You can follow me on Twitter, of course, at EJChristian7. I'm almost 2 weeks off on Facebook now, and I'm enjoying it. Till guys later. Love you guys. God bless. See ya.